Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. As you can see, we are still here in Washington, D.C. Phil Watson and myself knocking on doors in the House and the Senate, reminding them that those of us behind enemy lines and on the left coast still are expecting them to stand up for our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Not so much that we're anticipating a bunch of anti-Second Amendment legislation, but we are hopeful that those measures that have been introduced that will positively support our right to keep and bear arms will actually get a vote. So anyway, that's what we're doing here in Washington, D.C. Now, as you can see, I'm out here at the state capitol, not state capitol, I'm out here at the U.S. Capitol building, and well, I need you guys to be a little bit patient with me, because obviously I'm kind of here, I'm kind of doing this kind of on my own, so I'm kind of both in front of and behind the camera at the same time. So I ask that you guys would please be a little patient with me as I do my switching thing. So before we get started, please take a moment to like and share this video feed, as well as make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, so that we can help get the word out about the Firearms Policy Coalition and the right to keep and bear arms. So let's get into today's topic, shall we? Now, one of the things that I've noticed since we've been here is that I didn't even realize that the high school students from the Florida where the shooting took place last week were actually going to be here in Washington, D.C. During this week, and so they've been here, and so there's been a lot of conversation about that and a lot of protests, and it just raises a question for me, and but let me give you a quick kind of peek into some of the things that went on during some of these protests, and then we'll talk a little bit on the flip side.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Oh, I think he goes. Oh, I think he takes.
Aaron Fights, 37.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame.
So as you can see, there were protesters out here, and they were all yelling at the White House and yelling, "Shame on you, shame on you," and I found it to be, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I found it to be a little disconcerting, and kind of here's the reason why. I get it that these kids went through a tragedy. I get it that they went through something that most of us will never have to go through. I fully and wholly get that. But my question is does it seem to be as though the liberal media is utilizing these kids to virtue signal just a little bit? I mean, doesn't it seem to me that, or doesn't it seem to you that what they're actually doing in these particular cases is they're getting a bunch of kids who've gone through a tragedy, who are clearly emotional, who, by the way, probably barely understand the Constitution, barely understand. As a matter of fact, if not even a high school senior, they probably haven't even studied it in school yet. But they seem to be a little bit, they're utilizing them in order to try and pass and promote an agenda that may or may not be their own. And once again, they're telling them, this is the only way. This is the only way that we can save lives and save children. And almost to the point where there is this righteous or self-righteous indignation with some of these kids, where they feel like their outrage and their frustration with what happened entitles them to do and say whatever they want, whether or not it's really solves the problem. To say, you need to do this, once again, whether or not it actually solves the problem. And here's an example that took place on CNN. You guys saw that forum. Here's an example of what I'm talking about, though, in that case.
Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
A teenager gets serious with Republican Senator Marco Rubio at CNN's town hall. Cameron Caskey is a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, where 17 people died last week in a shooting.
In the name of 17 people, you cannot ask the NRA to keep their money out of your campaign?
I think in the name of 17 people, I can pledge to you that I will support any law that will prevent a killer like this.
No, but I'm talking
getting
NRA money.
No.
On live television, he continued to press Florida's junior lawmaker about whether he'd accept money from the NRA.
People buy into my agenda.
Rubio would not commit to turning down NRA money,
And I do support any law that would keep guns out of the hands of a deranged killer.
but did say he would support legislation raising the age limit for buying a rifle. I'm Lee Sheps for
So, all right. So let's make a point here. The shooter, the guy who participated in the shooting in Florida, one, was not an NRA member, was in no way affiliated with the NRA. NRA hadn't sent him money. He didn't work for the NRA. But yet, for some reason, because somebody in the media told them, well, NRA is bad, that, well, now we've got to say, well, you can't accept money from the NRA. Now, here's where the level of lack of understanding. Now, if you were an adult, I would just say ignorance. But here's where his lack of understanding is. First of all, the NRA, when it comes to political contributions, is a small player. Last year, they spent in the presidential election about $36 million, about a little over $30 million, somewhere between $30 and $36 million. And that's largely because most of their power, most of their strength doesn't come from making political contributions. You know what it comes from? It comes from mobilizing individuals, kind of like our work, right? What we do at the Firearms Policy Coalition, we don't donate at all to candidates. The resources that where we come in is we go to and we let the community know. We let people who believe in the Second Amendment, we let them know how legislators vote. We let you know how what's coming up. And you then get activated. You then go and you call your legislators. You let them know what's important to you. The thing is that the NRA is not some group that's out there that's hell-bent on depending on corporate contributions on the quote-unquote gun lobby being big gun manufacturers. The NRA is you and me. The NRA is your doctor. The NRA is your teacher. The NRA is your neighbor, your babysitter. That's who the NRA is, and that's who the Firearms Policy Coalition are. That's who we are. We are all supported largely by individuals, by small donors, small contributions, people who believe in the right to keep and bear arms. And what's sad about what this young man did was he was used, and he was given a moment in the spotlight. And between whether it was his ego or his outrage, he decided to use that to go after somebody without any understanding as to what the real issue is. And that's why virtue signaling by these young folks is so dangerous. When we start saying, okay, well, I'm now going to listen to somebody. And once again, I believe he deserves to have a voice. He deserves to say whatever it is on his heart. But having said that, just because it's on his heart, it doesn't mean it belongs in his brain. Right to defend ourselves, and it's not just a constitutional right to be very careful of the fact that, well, contrary to popular belief, but to defend themselves. And that's the only real obligation they have, is to defend themselves. No obligation to defend us. So they're given the opportunity to defend themselves, but we're not given the opportunity to defend ourselves. The very same politicians who keep telling us that, well, hey, we need to we need to give up our right to keep and bear arms so that we can be safe, fail to understand and to recognize that the criminals are not giving up their firearms. The terrorists are not giving up their firearms. The mass shooters are not giving up their firearms. They are doing everything possible to stand in the way of our ability to be able to defend ourselves. And they're looking for soft targets. They're looking to be able to come after us at any turn, and at every turn they can, in order to potentially end our lives, and do so in a blaze of glory, much in the way that the media has been portraying them. Because, well, let's just be honest, the media doesn't really care about our safety. Neither do Democrats. The media just cares about one thing. They care about disarming us because, well, they're part of the liberal cabal, if that's what you want to call it. And the politicians, they don't care about anything but disarming us. That's the reason why they are so quick to use children, to try and guilt us into giving up our rights. I, for one, am not going to allow young people to virtue signal, to change my mind. You want to come at me, just because you're young, if you want to come at me with some real information, some knowledge, some information that demonstrates that you know what you're talking about, well, then we can talk. But you're not going to shout me down. You're not going to shout me down. You're not going to, once again, virtue signal to me or to any of the rest of us who believe in our right to keep and bear arms. I'm not going to go as far as lobbing some of the Tide Pod comments that some folks have made about some members of your generation. But I'm just going to say this: if you're going to step up, if you're going to come at me, come correct, come with knowledge, come with information. Don't come with Everytown statistics, because we all know that those are full of BS. Come at me with real knowledge and understanding. Show me that you know and understand firearms, that you understand firearms policy, that you understand constitutional civil rights. Show me that you know those things, and then I think then you have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to have a real, honest and open dialogue. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and share these videos, and tell everybody you know about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them, or you're going to lose them.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.